Hello, and welcome to the Maine State Inspection Manual, read by Nate Berry. Today we are looking at Sections 190. Feel free to follow along with the video or download the PDF in the description below. Let's begin. Department of Public Safety, Bureau of State Police. Section 190. Class C Motorcycle Inspection Standards. Summary. This section describes the inspection procedures and standards for Class C motorcycle. This section also establishes the standards for rejecting a Class C motorcycle for inspection. All motorcycles inspected in the state of Maine must have met all applicable federal motor vehicle safety standards, Environmental Protection Agency pollutant requirements, and National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration crash testing requirements at the time of manufacture, unless otherwise authorized by law. Motorcycles with an MCO indicating the motorcycles for off-road use only shall not be inspected. Class C Motorcycle Inspection. 1. Brakes. A. General. 1. Wheels and drums are not required to be removed from the vehicle being inspected to determine the condition of the brake drum linings, unless the inspection technician believes, based upon training and experience, that there is a problem or failure with the brakes and advises the customer that the vehicle cannot be passed for inspection without the removal of wheels and or drums to allow further assessment, so as to determine whether the vehicle may be passed for inspection. 2. At the customer request and with clear understanding by the customer that pulling the wheel or drum is not part of the inspection and will be considered as labor at the hourly rate, the inspection technician may remove the wheels and or drums to show the customer why the vehicle will not pass inspection. 3. Whenever an inspection technician feels that a road test of the motorcycle is necessary to ascertain braking efficiency and safe handling characteristics, a road test may be completed before an inspection sticker is issued. 5. Motorcycles equipped with a self-proportioning or anti-lock brakes may have a single brake control operated by the right hand or foot. 6. Anti-lock braking systems cannot be disconnected. B. Brake system test procedures. 1. Brake hydraulic system test. The inspection technician must be able to maintain brake pedal or hand level reserve under moderate pressure, 40 to 60 pounds, for 1 minute. A. Reject a vehicle if the brake reserve cannot be maintained for 1 minute. 2. Pedal reserve hydraulic system test. Test vehicle in a standing position with the brake pedal or hand lever depressed under moderate force, 40 to 60 pounds. There must be a minimum of approximately 1/3 of the total available pedal or hand lever travel remaining. A. Reject vehicle if less than approximately 1/3 of the total available pedal or brake lever travel remains when the pedal is depressed under moderate force. 3. Service brake test. Test vehicle on a substantially level, dry, smooth, hard surfaced road or area that is free from loose materials, oil, or grease. Using the service brake only, test the stopping ability of the vehicle. Brake tests on the open highways must be at a speed of 20 miles per hour, with the cycle stopping safely within a distance of 30 feet. A. Reject vehicle if it does not stop safely within 30 feet at 20 miles per hour. C. Inspection of internal mechanism. 1. Brake linings and disc brake pads. A. Reject vehicle if the thickness of bonded brake linings, when measured, at the thinnest point is less than 2/32 of an inch. B. Reject vehicle if any wire in a wire-backed lining is visible in the friction surface. C. Reject vehicle if any riveted lining is worn to within 2/32 inch of the rivet head. D. Reject vehicle if any rivet is loose or missing, or if the lining is not securely fastened. C. Reject vehicle if the lining is broken, cracked, or loose. D. Reject vehicle if the lining is contaminated with oil, grease, or brake fluid. E. Reject vehicle if any lining is worn beyond the replacement indicators. 2. Brake drums and brake discs. A. Reject vehicle if any brake drum or disc is contaminated. B. Reject vehicle if any brake drum has one or more cracks extending to the bottom edge of the drum or disc, or mechanical damage to the friction surface other than wear. C. Reject vehicle if any brake drum is remachined beyond the manufacturer's specifications. D. Reject vehicle if there are any cracks extending to the edge of the drum or to the disc. E. Reject vehicle if the thickness of any disc is less than the minimum thickness recommended by the manufacturer. 3. Hydraulic system. A. Reject vehicle if the fluid level in the master cylinder reservoir is below 1/3 or 3/4 full. B. Reject vehicle if there are leaks at the master cylinder or wheel cylinders. C. Reject vehicle if any hydraulic hose, tubing, or connection is leaking, chafed, restricted, crimped, cracked, or broken. 4. Mechanical linkage. A. Reject vehicle if any mechanical part is missing, broken, or badly worn. B. Reject vehicle if there is high friction in the pedal, lever, or linkage in the brake components. C. Reject vehicle if any brake operating lever or pedal is improperly positioned or is misaligned. D. Reject vehicle if any brake cable has more than one strand of the cable broken, cut, or missing. E. Reject vehicle if any portion of the handbrake lever is broken or missing. F. Reject vehicle if any cam operating lever has been repositioned on the shaft as a means to avoid replacement of a worn cam, shoe, or lining. G. Reject vehicle if the brake adjuster is not equipped with a locking mechanism. H. Reject vehicle if any brake cable is so routed as to become pinched between the fork and the frame. I. Reject vehicle if the brake control lever has no free play, or if less than 1/5 of the total available control remains when the brake is fully applied. J. Reject vehicle if there is any modification that makes the brake pedal or lever inaccessible for adequate leverage of safe operation. K. Reject vehicle if any replacement or modification to the brake assembly is not equal to the manufacturer's specifications for the specific motorcycle on which the replacement or modification has been installed. 5. Parking brake system. A. Reject vehicle if a 3-wheeled motorcycle, a motorcycle with a drop-down retractable wheels, or autocycle is not equipped with a parking brake in working condition. This brake may be the primary hydraulic brake system, provided that there is a mechanical means to hold the brake lever or pedal applied. 2. Body components. A. Chain/belt, sprocket, and guards. 1. Reject vehicle if the chain links or rollers are damaged or any pins are loose. 2. Reject vehicle if the rear chain adjustment is not in accordance with the manufacturer's specifications. 3. Reject vehicle if the sprocket belt is frayed or if the teeth are stripped. 4. Reject vehicle if the sprocket teeth are bent or missing. 5. Reject vehicle if the rear sprocket is loose, missing bolts, or is cracked. Reject vehicle if the chain guard is broken or missing. 7. Reject vehicle if the chain guard is not securely mounted or is not mounted in such a way that provides shielding from the chain. B. Drive shaft. 1. Reject vehicle if the drive shaft is leaking fluid. C. Fenders. 1. Reject vehicle if a fender is missing from any wheel. 2. Reject vehicle if any fender is not mounted securely. 3. Reject vehicle if any fender, exterior fiberglass or sheet metal part, or molding has sharp or broken edges, or if it has an abnormal protrusion extending beyond the normal vehicle extremities that would be hazardous to driver, passenger, pedestrians, or other vehicles. Do not reject for crash bars unless the bars have sharp protrusions. 4. Reject vehicle if any fender fails to cover the width of the tire. 5. Reject vehicle if a fender does not cover a minimum of 1/4 of the wheel circumference and is positioned so as to protect the operator and passenger from an exposed wheel. 6. Reject vehicle if a replacement fender has not been refitted with a required lighting device. D. Stands. 1. Reject vehicle if the center or side stands do not operate properly. 2. Reject vehicle if the motorcycle does not remain on the stand when the front wheel is turned from stop to stop. 3. Reject vehicle if either stand is cracked or broken. 4. Reject vehicle if the stand will not retract or remain in a fully retract or stored position. E. Seats. 1. Reject vehicle if it is not equipped with seats. 2. Reject vehicle if any seat is not securely attached. 3. Reject vehicle if any seat has springs or other parts protruding which might constitute a hazard to the operator or passenger. 4. Reject vehicle if any seat latching or securing device does not function properly. F. Footrests. 1. Reject vehicle if footrests are not provided for each designated seating position. 2. Reject vehicle if the footrests are not in an accessible position for a passenger's feet. 3. Reject vehicle if any footrest is not securely attached. 4. Reject vehicle if any footrest does not fold upward or rearward when not in use. G. Accessories/speedometers. 1. For the purposes of this subsection, accessories include, but are not limited to, items such as fairings, windshields, luggage racks and carriers, backrests, highway bars, engine case guards, passenger seats, speedometers or odometers, and trailer hitches. If the motorcycle was originally equipped with a speedometer, it must be present and functioning properly. 2. Reject vehicle if any accessory interferes with, obstructs, or prevents the proper use of any control, component, or system required for the operation of the vehicle. 3. Reject vehicle if any accessory item covers, interferes with, or obstructs any required lighting device, reflector, or registration plate. 4. Reject vehicle if any accessory has sharp edges, points, or breaks that might present a hazard to a driver, passenger, or pedestrian. 5. Reject vehicle if any passenger handhold, if vehicle so equipped, is not securely attached. 6. Reject vehicle if an installed windscreen is cracked, discolored, or scratched so as to obstruct the driver's forward vision. 7. Reject vehicle if the glazing in an installed windscreen is not of an improved type. 8. Reject vehicle if an installed windscreen obstructs or obscures the driver's view of the road surface directly ahead of the front wheel. 9. Reject vehicle if any attaching bracket, clamps, bolt, brace, or other similar fastening device anywhere on the motor body is loose, broken, or in other than a safe condition. 3. Frame. A. Reject vehicle if any part of the frame has been removed so as to weaken the original structure. B. Reject vehicle if the frame is cracked, broken, or twisted, or if there's evidence of structural damage. C. Reject vehicle if any welt or joint shows cracks or fatigue breaks. D. Reject vehicle if the frame is out of alignment. E. Reject vehicle if it fails to meet the following specifications, Table 190.1, in relationship to the front wheel geometry. Table 191, motorcycle front end geometry. Maximum rake, 45 degrees. Minimum trail, 14 degrees. Minimum rake, 20 degrees. Minimum trail, 2 inches positive, 2 wheeled cycles only. 4. Steering and suspension. F. Front fork. 1. Reject vehicle if any fork component is loose or shows any perceptible wear. 2. Reject vehicle if fork slugs have been installed. 3. Reject vehicle if the length of the original fork has been extended by replacing the original tubes with tubes longer than 16 inches, or if the vehicle exceeds the rake and trail limits. 4. Reject vehicle if Springer-type front forks exceed the original design by 18 inches or more. G. Swing arm. 1. Reject vehicle if the swing arm, if the vehicle is so equipped, is bent, cracked, broken, or loose, or is excessively worn so as to affect the safe handling of the vehicle. H. Head, steering head bearings, and wheel bearings. 1. Reject vehicle if there is a noticeable play or roughness within the steering head bearings, or if the front fork binds when turned left or right. 2. Reject vehicle if the wheel bearings have perceptible play, roughness, or binding during wheel rotation. 3. Reject vehicle if the steering head has cracks in it or adjacent to any weld. I. Shock absorbers and suspension. 1. Reject vehicle if any shock absorber is not securely attached or is missing. 2. Reject vehicle if any shock absorber has been removed and replaced with a solid connection. 3. Reject vehicle if any shock absorber is worn, leaking, bent, or has damaged parts. 4. Reject vehicle if any suspension spring is broken, worn, or loose. 5. Reject vehicle if a hard trail frame is not of a type manufactured completely as a hard tail. A bolt-on/weld-on type is not acceptable. This criterion does not apply to three-wheeled vehicles. J. Handlebars. 1. Reject vehicle if the handlebars are cracked, broken, or misaligned. 2. Reject vehicle if the handlebars are positioned so that the hand grips are at a level above the operator's shoulder height when the operator is sitting astride the seat, or if the hand grips are positioned such that the vertical rise is more than 15 inches above the surface of the operator's seat. If the handlebars were originally manufactured at a height greater than 15 inches from the seat, you may pass the vehicle as long as the conditions above are met and the height is not greater than the original handlebars. A motorcycle must meet the lesser of these two values. 3. Reject vehicle if the handlebar width measures less than 18 inches or more than 36 inches from grip end to grip end. 4. Reject vehicle if the handlebars are loose, bent, or cracked in any welds or bends, or if the handlebars have been broken and then welded or brazed. 5. Reject vehicle if a replacement handlebar is not of the same gauge steel and strength as the original handlebars. 6. Reject vehicle if the handlebars can be moved up and down by applying manual force other than the movement related to the shock-absorbing mounts of the handlebar supports. 7. Reject vehicle if the handlebars are not equipped with hand grips. K. Handlebar controls. 1. Reject vehicle if the throttle does not automatically close to an idle when it is released from the full open position on motorcycles manufactured after September 1st, 1974. Note: some throttles have an intermediate resistance point for idle adjustment. 2. Reject vehicle if any throttle or control lever is loose on the handlebars. 3. Reject vehicle if any control lever is broken or does not operate freely. 4. Reject vehicle if the outer cable housing is pinched or kinked. 5. Reject vehicle if there are any loose cable ends, severe bends, kinks, or broken strands on the exposed portion of the inner cables. 6. Reject the vehicle if the brake control lever has no free play and less than 1/5 of the total available control travel remains with brake fluid supplied. 7. Reject vehicle if the clutch control lever has no free play and the clutch level travels bottom further to the full clutch engagement. 8. Reject vehicle if it is not equipped with an operable engine stop control. 9. Reject vehicle if any cable is excessively slack. L. Steering alignment. 1. Reject vehicle if the wheel planes do not align with the longitudinal axis of the frame and thereby causes a tracking between the front and rear wheel so as to misalign them by 1 inch or more. 2. Reject vehicle if there is more than 3/8 inch run out in wheel alignment. 5. Exhaust system. A. Reject vehicle if it does not have a muffler that prevents excessive or unusual noise. B. Reject vehicle if any internal component of the muffler has been removed or altered. C. Reject vehicle if the originally equipped catalytic converter is missing or tampered with. D. Reject the vehicle if any mounting or connection is loose, broken, or missing. E. Reject vehicle if there are any loose or leaking joints, holes, leaking seams, or interior loose baffles. Repairs may be made with a jacket or patch that is welded or braced securely in place are accessible. Small holes obviously made by the manufacturer to provide drainage are not a cause for rejection. F. Reject vehicle if the exhaust system is equipped with any bypass or cutout device. G. Reject vehicle if any flexible tubing has been used to replace any part of the exhaust system unless such tubing was factory installed as original equipment. H. Reject vehicle if the muffler shield has been removed. I. Reject vehicle if any unshielded portion of the exhaust system protrudes in a manner that might burn the rider or a passenger seated in a normal riding position. J. Reject vehicle if any unshielded portion of the exhaust system is mounted higher than the lowest portion of the passenger seat pan. K. Reject vehicle if the vehicle is equipped with drag or straight pipes, or pipes marked with language or symbols such as "for race off-road use only," indicating that the pipe or pipes are not intended for use on a public way. L. Reject vehicle if baffles are inserted into the exhaust pipe in place of a muffler. Baffles do not constitute a muffler. The muffler and the exhaust pipe may be welded together. 6. Fuel system. A. Reject vehicle if any portion of the fuel system is not securely attached. B. Reject vehicle if fuel is leaking from any point in the fuel system. C. Reject vehicle if the fuel tank cap is missing, damaged, or fails to latch. D. Reject vehicle if any gas line is in direct contact with the engine. E. Reject vehicle if any fuel system vent or evaporative control system, if so originally equipped, is not present and operational. 7. Lighting and electrical systems. A. Reject vehicle if any lamp, bulb, lens, or reflective device is broken, severely discolored, inoperable, or shows a color contrary to law or regulation. Any replacement lamp must be DOT approved for highway use. B. Reject vehicle if any lens, bulb, or filament is missing or fails to light as designed. C. Reject vehicle if an improperly connected circuit does not light the proper filaments for the different switch positions. D. Reject vehicle if any lens is missing or is rotated upside down, wrong way out, or otherwise improperly installed. E. Reject vehicle if any lamp, lens, or reflective device is improperly located or is not securely fastened to the vehicle. F. Reject vehicle if any lamp or lens required by law or regulation is covered by any device that reduces the amount of light transmitted, or reduces the area of illumination of a lamp or lens by any amount. This includes, but is not limited to, tinted, louvered, or mesh covers. G. Reject vehicle if any lamp or lens is turned or inclined so that the light does not function properly. Reject vehicle if it is rated at over 5 horsepower and is not equipped with a multiple beam headlamp. I. Reject vehicle if it is not equipped with an electrical energy storage source of providing lighting of a constant intensity if the vehicle was originally manufactured with such a source. J. Reject vehicle if equipped with LED lights and 50% or more of the LEDs are not functioning. 8. Signal lamps. A. Reject vehicle if any lens is not white or amber to the front and mounted on each side of the vertical centerline at the same height. B. Reject vehicle if any lens is not clear, red, or amber to the rear and mounted on each side of the vertical centerline at the same height. Factory smoked directional lights are permitted. C. Reject vehicle if all of the proper signals do not go on with each throw of the switch, if vehicle is equipped with or was originally manufactured with turn signals. D. Reject vehicle if the turn signal operating unit is not functioning properly, if vehicle is equipped with or was originally manufactured with turn signals. E. Reject vehicle if the turn signals cannot be operated without moving the hand from the handlebars, if vehicle is equipped with or was originally manufactured with turn signals. 9. Stop lamps. A. Reject vehicle if the stop lamp does not go on with slight pressure on the brake pedal or front brake lever. B. Reject vehicle if the stop lamp lens is not clear or red. The lights must be red. C. Reject vehicle if the stop lamps is or are not mounted on the vehicle centerline or symmetrically positioned about the vertical centerline if 2 lamps are used. D. Reject vehicle if the stop lamps are mounted less than 15 inches or more than 72 inches above the road surface. 10. Rear lamps, license plate lamps, and rear lamp combinations. A. Reject vehicle if the taillight does not produce sufficient light to be clearly visible from a distance of 100 feet to the rear. B. Reject vehicle if the taillight lens is not clear or red. The light, however, must be red. C. Reject vehicle if any tail lamp is not mounted securely in the center or to the left of the axis. D. Reject vehicle if any tail lamp does not produce a steady or pulsating light to the rear with the brakes applied. E. Reject vehicle if any license plate light bulb does not produce a sufficient steady white light to illuminate the entire rear license plate to be clearly visible from a distance of 50 feet to the rear. F. Reject vehicle if any aftermarket lighting device is installed around or near the license plate, including illuminated license plate frames, neon lights, blinking lights, or any other than the factory original or its equivalent replacement. G. Reject vehicle if the rear plate is not mounted horizontally on either the rear of the fender or a side mount. The plate must be located so that it is clearly visible to the rear. H. Reject vehicle if any light assembly is not mounted on the rearmost part of the rear fender. I. Reject vehicle if the frame-mounted tail lamp assembly extends beyond the outer extremities of the body components. In no event may the lighting devices or components extend beyond the crash bars if installed. J. Reject vehicle if the lamp assembly is mounted less than 15 inches or more than 72 inches above the level surface on which the vehicle stands. 11. Headlamps. A. Reject vehicle if the headlight is mounted more than 54 inches or less than 22 inches above the level surface on which the vehicle stands. B. Reject vehicle if the headlamp beam pattern is out of limits and cannot be re-aimed during the inspection. Note: information regarding headlamp aiming should be obtained from the Maine State Police Inspection Manual supplemental information or within additional resource materials. 12. Reflectors. A. Reject vehicle if the vehicle is not equipped with at least one adequate reflector securely attached to the rear of the vehicle. The reflector may be part of the rear lamp assembly. B. Reject vehicle if the rear reflectors are not red or are not mounted on the vertical center line. If two reflectors are used, reject vehicle if both are not mounted about the vertical center line. C. Reject vehicle if the reflectors are not adequate to reflect the high-beamed headlight of a vehicle approaching from the rear and being driven at night on an unlit highway from a minimum distance of 200 feet. 2. Reject vehicle if there is not a red reflector mounted on each side of the vehicle as far as practical to the rear, and an amber reflector mounted on each side of the vehicle as far as practical to the front. This section does not apply to motorcycles manufactured before January 1st, 1968. E. Reject vehicle if any reflector is mounted less than 15 inches or more than 60 inches above the level surface on which the vehicle stands. 13. Horn. A. Reject vehicle if it is not equipped with a horn. B. Reject vehicle if the horn is not securely mounted or is not audible. C. Reject vehicle if the horn actuating device does not function properly or is not accessible to the operator without moving the operator's hand from the handlebar. This section does not apply to three-wheeled autocycle equipped with a steering wheel. 14. Tires, wheels, rims, and spokes. A. Tires. 1. Reject vehicle if any tire is worn to less than 2/32 of an inch anywhere on the tread or worn to the wear indicators. 2. Reject vehicle if any part of the cord is exposed. 3. Reject vehicle if there are any bumps, bulges, or knots. 4. Reject vehicle if there is any tread separation. 5. Reject vehicle if any tire has been re-grooved or recut. 6. Reject vehicle if any tire has tread cuts or snags in excess of 1 inch or a cut deep enough to expose the body cords. 7. Reject vehicle if any tire is not the recommended size and speed rating required by the manufacturer. 8. Reject vehicle if any tire is weather-cracked to the degree that failure is imminent. Note: inspecting technicians must use their education, training, and experience to determine if a tire is weather-cracked to the degree that failure is imminent. The age of the tire, along with the degree of weather cracking, should be considered. Age of tire can be determined by the DOT code on the sidewall of the tire. B. Wheels, rims, and spokes. 1. Reject vehicle if any spokes or braces are broken or missing. 2. Reject vehicle if any spokes are visibly loose. 3. Reject vehicle if any part of the wheel rim is cracked or broken. 4. Reject vehicle if any brace, disc, strut, or spider is cracked or broken. 15. Mirrors. A. Reject vehicle if it is not equipped with at least one rear view mirror. B. Reject vehicle if any mirror is not mounted securely to prevent swinging and excessive vibration. C. Reject vehicle if any mirror is broken or has sharp, exposed edges. D. Reject vehicle if the reflecting surface is tarnished or peeling to the degree at which visibility is reduced. E. Reject vehicle if a mirror does not have a minimum of 10 square inches of reflective surface for convex construction or 12.5 square inches of reflective surface for unit magnification construction. F. Reject vehicle if any mirror cannot be adjusted or cannot maintain adjustment. G. Reject vehicle if the mirror location does not provide the operator with an unobstructed view 200 feet to the rear. Reconstructed motorcycles and autocycles. 1. Reconstructed motorcycles. A. A specially constructed or reconstructed motorcycle must be inspected carefully as to the quality of workmanship, the integrity of the vehicle components, and vehicle geometry. If the inspection technician has any doubt or question about the strength or safety of any component of a specially constructed motorcycle, no inspection sticker is to be issued. B. Specially constructed motorcycles must comply with all applicable laws and regulations, including, but not limited to, this chapter. 2. Autocycles. A. An autocycle shall meet the provisions of a motorcycle as well as the following criteria. 1. An autocycle must be equipped with safety belts for all passengers, a roll bar, and a steering wheel or tiller. 2. Autocycles shall be equipped with brakes on 2 main wheels. B. Reject vehicle if a seat belt is not present and functioning for each seat. C. Reject vehicle if it is not equipped with a roll bar. D. Reject vehicle if it is not equipped with a steering wheel or tiller. Thank you for listening. This concludes Section 190, Class C Motorcycle Inspection. There will be cards shown on screen to take to the next video in the sequence as we look through the inspection manual, or a separate card for the entire playlist for the current edition of the inspection manual. Thank you for listening.